guys, welcome back to my channel. Kazzie here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my November wrap up. Wow, that was a brain fart. So yes, in November I got through a total of 8 books. 6 of them were just reading them and 2 of them were audiobooks. So without further ado, let's just get started. The first book I'm going to share with you is one that I actually started in October, but I wanted to get it read for Halloween, but I kind of failed at that. It actually took me to about the first week in November to actually complete it, and that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I thought I knew the story of Dracula when I was going into this. Nope. I thought I knew what to expect from the narrative. Nope. This was not what I expected at all. First of all, it's told in the first person from multiple perspectives. It's told through diary entries, through journal entries, through newspaper articles. It's just a narrative that I was not expecting at all. I also thought I knew what characters were going to appear. Nah. I thought Dracula was going to appear a lot more than he did in this book. He didn't. So when I started reading this book, I found it quite difficult to actually get into it because it wasn't what I expected. Take a shot every time I say expected. But I also found as I was reading this, I was trying to do the English literature student thing and try to figure out exactly what's going on, what literary mechanisms are in this, what Bram Stoker's trying to attempt with it, and I was just struggling. I was enjoying it. I absolutely was enjoying it, but I was just trying to do the English literature student thing. I just felt my brain trying to do that, and I was failing miserably at attempting to do that. So it took the enjoyment out of it for me just slightly, so that's why it ended up being like a 4-star read for me instead of 5. In terms of characters, I adored Jonathan, adored Mina, hated Van Helsing. That surprised me that I hated Van Helsing because Van Helsing is always portrayed as a very good character, a very strong character, a very young character. To be perfectly honest, I hated whenever he had the monologues and was trying to describe everything. I just was completely lost anytime he was trying to explain something. I actually just wanted to kill him myself. And another character I didn't expect to like so much was Lucy Westerner, and that's probably mostly because Katie McGrath plays her in a version of Dracula featuring Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. And I also could see where Damien Kindler got the inspiration for Sanctuary from Dracula. The whole concept of Mina being the girl and then all the guys around it just reminded me so much of the 5 from Sanctuary that it really brought this to life a lot more than it probably would have if I had not watched Sanctuary. But again, that's just my opinion and just the way my brain works. Once I finished that, I also picked up Tales of the Peculiar by Ransom Riggs. This is a companion novel to Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because there is a book in it called Tales of the Peculiar that features quite heavily in the book, and so Ransom Riggs decided to write all of the tales out. And so this was re-released in November as a paperback edition with an additional tale in it called The Man Who Bottled the Sun. I pretty much just read that tale. I didn't read the entire thing again, but it still counts for me. I adored the new tale. It is so good, very interesting. I loved the concept of it. I loved the moral that I was teaching, and I love this cover so much. It just looks like Miss Peregrine is reading all of the stories out and they're coming to life in front of the children and all the imprints are flying around. It just really captures what the entire book holds when you really look at the cover, and I love it so much. I love this one so much. After that, I picked up A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess, whatever way you want to pronounce her name. I've heard it several thousand ways. And this follows the story of Henrietta, who is an orphaned child who was sent to this boarding school because her aunt just wasn't willing to look after her. And so she spent her whole life at this boarding school, and then she goes back into it as a teacher, and so she has these magical abilities, but magic in women is outlawed. It's dangerous, and if you have magic in your woman, you're executed. And so Henrietta hides these abilities, but she soon found out, but they actually think that she's a sorcerer as part of this prophecy that's going to destroy the evil that has been plaguing England. But she's not the sorcerer. She finds that out pretty early on, that she's not the sorcerer that they're looking for, and so she kind of plays along with it, and she tries to figure out how to use these abilities because she really is gifted in magic. There's this battle looming towards the very end, and that's where I think then the next book in the series picks up. I absolutely adored this book. There's some parts of it that I didn't particularly enjoy, like the romance I wasn't particularly sold on, but I absolutely adored the characters themselves. I loved Magnus. I loved Julian Magnus beyond words, because again, you're going to be sick of me relating everything back to Sanctuary, but my brain just does that. I can just relate anything back to Sanctuary. A lot of the time, Henrietta just reminds me of Helen Magnus, and then Julian Magnus reminds me of Nikola Tesla. And again, it's a lone female character amongst men. They're having trouble accepting this woman. It's even set in Victorian times, and it just screamed Sanctuary to me. I absolutely loved it. I loved Jessica's writing style. I really enjoyed that. Mostly, there's some points where I was just like, not so sure about that. Their characters just seemed very, very enjoyable, and I actually care about what happens to them in the next one, so I'm very excited to find out what happens next. It is out. I just can't find it anywhere. I've looked in Waterstones and Easton's. I think I'm just going to have to order it online, but that will have to wait until next year. I'm holding up Born with Teeth by Kate Mulgrew, the book, but I actually finished listening to the audiobook, which is read by Kate Mulgrew herself, and oh my goodness, if you adore Kate Mulgrew, you need to listen to the audiobook for Born with Teeth. It just makes it so much more vivid and visceral, and it just brings it to life in a way that I never even imagined. I had already read this twice by the time I got to the audiobook. Just the way that she reads, it's just incredible. Her voice is just something else. I thought I knew every single nuance and timbre of her voice because I've been a fan of her since I was 11. I have watched her in quite a lot of television shows and movies, and none of them compare to what her voice is like when she's reading her memoir. What I loved about it the most is that she's speaking it the way that she wrote it. Whenever you're reading it in the way that you want to read it, but she's telling you the way she remembered it being said, and that made it all the more vivid. That's what I loved so much about it, because there were times when she was reading a part out loud and I was like, oh, I didn't read it like that. That makes it so much different. That makes it so much more impactful. And I absolutely loved it. And then at the end of the audiobook, there's an interview with Kate Mulgrew, carried out by Rosie O'Donnell, who is one of her great friends, and it is just an amazing, amazing interview that I would highly recommend anybody to listen to. Loved it so much. Of course, I give the audiobook 5 out of 5 stars all across the board because, you know, it's Kate Mulgrew and I'm a fangirl. After that, I picked up Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer, the first book in the Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. I finally finished the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, so I was like going, right, I will jump into the Magnus Chase series because I just watched Thor Ragnarok and I just thought, you know, what could be more perfect to read than Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard? So I picked this up and I did enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it just didn't grab me in the way that Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus did. I'm not sure why, but there was just something about the Sword of Summer that just felt a little flat for me. Just a little bit flat. I adored the quests. I adored the little bits about it. I adored the friendships. I adored the characters. I even loved the freaking pronunciation guide in the back of the book. That was ridiculously helpful because sometimes when you're reading the Greek series, you're like wondering, how the F am I supposed to pronounce that? The amount of times I went to YouTube and just put in how to pronounce was ridiculous. So at least this came with a pronunciation guide and a glossary at the back that kind of helped you figure out who is related to what and what's actually what and where, why. I did enjoy it, but there was just something missing. And so it just means that I'm not going to just leapfrog into the next 2 books, which I already kind of own. Because, you know, I'm preemptive like that. I then picked up Star Trek Voyager Caretaker, which is a novelization tie-in with the Star Trek Voyager episode Caretaker, which is the first 2 episodes of the series, and that was written by L.A. Graff, which is the pen name of Julia Eckler and Karen Rose Ciccone. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And L.A. Graff is actually an acronym of Let's All Get Rich and Famous. So after reading Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer, I kind of just wanted something just to fly through, and Caretaker was that. It pretty much stayed true to the 2-parter of Star Trek Voyager. I know it inside and out, so I was being very, very particular when I was reading this. But I also had to remember that this was written in 1995 when the series was also released, and so the rest of the series hadn't been released, and so we didn't know all of this information. In the book, Janeway had a different name for her dog. They had the name as Bear, when in season 7 you realize that the dog called Molly. It was just like little things like that. But I also enjoyed the fact that this version of Caretaker had little deleted scenes, if you will, and I find that very intriguing, that, you know, we got to know a bit more about the doctor that Janeway had actually commissioned before he died, and Stati, who was the helmsman before she died. Let's just say a lot of people died in Caretaker. If you haven't watched Star Trek Voyager Caretaker, a lot of people died. I even got to know a bit more about Janeway at the same time, and she's my favorite character of like life. And so I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't like a stellar read for me. It was just like enjoyable to actually read what was going on instead of just watching it, if that makes sense. It's probably weird to say something like that, but hey, it works. After reading Caretaker, I also listened to The Other Boleyn Girl by Philippa Gregory, which is the audiobook read by Amelia Fox. I only listened to this because Amelia Fox does the audiobook. I'm a fangirl, what can I say? I really knew nothing about The Other Boleyn Girl. The only thing I knew, it was about Anne Boleyn's sister Mary. I didn't know anything about Mary. I never even watched the movie with Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson. Never watched it, had no desire to watch it. So I decided, right, I'm just going to listen to the audiobook because of Amelia Fox. The most fun that I got out of this audiobook, her voice for Mary Boleyn's brother was hysterical. He sounded freaking stoned. I don't know what other way to describe it. She just makes him sound stoned. If you've ever watched The Scarlet Pimpernel with Jane Seymour, the guy that plays the Scarlet Pimpernel, his other personality just reminded me of that character. All that the Boleyn guy had to say was "sink me," and I was like, yes, that is him. It just "sink me, sink me," and it just reminded me of that character from The Scarlet Pimpernel with Jane Seymour so freaking much. It was hysterical. I didn't enjoy the book. Like, The Other Boleyn Girl is kind of like there's like parts of it that were interesting. This book was kind of like, alright. It was just something to listen to and engage my brain when I was just doing like something just boring. I enjoyed it, but at the same time it was like I had no real desire to actually read this book other than the fact that Amelia Fox does the audiobook. And the last book that I read in November, Invictus by Ryan Groden. This is all about Faraway McCarthy, who has no real birthday because he was born outside of space and time. And so when he goes for one of his final exams to be like a time traveler, he fails. And so he's recruited by the kind of like the black market of time travel to steal items throughout history, like important items throughout history that won't be missed because they were destroyed at one point or another. But something is going on that is making time disappear. Like, these moments in time are being erased. And they meet this girl called Elliot, who is also a time traveler, but is also very mysterious in her own right. And they have no idea where she comes from. There's nothing on her in their databases. And so they have to figure out, okay, what's she there for? They're on a race against time to see if time. Oh my goodness, I love this book so much. I absolutely adored it. I know people kept saying it was like Firefly meets Doctor Who meets Guardians of the Galaxy. This book is Legends of Tomorrow, DC, the TV show. Oh my god, there were elements of Firefly in that the insides reminded me of Serenity, the ship in Firefly, but beyond that, not so much. As I said, it just reminds me so much of Legends of Tomorrow. I could just like see so many of these characters fit in well with Legends of Tomorrow. I didn't see the characters of Legends of Tomorrow in it, but just everything that they do and their snarkiness and their sarcasm and just their wit and what they're doing, it just screamed Legends of Tomorrow, and I absolutely adored it. I loved Ryan Groden's writing. She is such in a way with science and wit and sarcasm and just humor in general that I absolutely adored it. There were times when I just did not want to put this down. I had to figure out what happened next. What I loved most about was the characters. Oh my goodness. Imogen, I adored her. Like every day, every time her character was encountered, I was like, okay, what color is her hair now? Graham, oh my gosh, he's like the adorable dork. The little tech geek that you just want to love. He just reminded me of Wash so much from Firefly. And Elliot would be like a mix of Sarah from Legends of Tomorrow and Kaylee from Firefly and Zoe from Firefly, which is like such a combination, but she just reminds me so much of those characters. Just the way that everything just fits together just reminds me so much of Legends of Tomorrow. Again, take a shot every time I say Legends of Tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I'm like a broken record right now. I'm not gonna say it reminds me of Legends. I'm not. But oh my goodness, I adore this book, and I love this book so much. It is so good. Some elements I just could have done without. Like, it is quite romance heavy at times, but it works. It works. The romances between the characters works. It's not forced. It's not like too heavy. It's not like too sweet or saccharine. It just works. It works. It works. Love it. So there you have it, you guys. Those are all of the books that I read in November. Read, listened to, encountered, whatever you want to call it. And so yes, let me know down in the comments below what books you've read in November, if you read any of these books previously or recently or whatever else. I'm really trilling off here. This is a disaster. I'm so bad at these. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in my next video.